billion. And the United Nations is pulling its personnel out of Afghanistan because that's where Osama bin Laden, the primary suspect, is believed to be living. Some military experts are telling Fox News it's only a matter of time before military action is taken against Afghanistan. Today was another day of intense suffering for thousands of Americans. Here are some sights and sounds.
Everybody's pulling together and everybody's helping each other out. You got the cops, you got the fire department.
Go! Go! I don't care if you leave your stuff, you're gonna leave here now.
Excuse me?
Watch out, watch out.
I got on the phone, Mark, and he said, "Hi, Mom, this is Mark Bingham." Giving me his last name. And he said, "I want to let you know that I love you."
She was so dearly loved, and she was such a beautiful woman in so many ways. She just had an incredible love for life and such a great sense of humor, and she's irreplaceable.
I think he said, "I'm in the air. I'm calling you on the air phone of the airplane."
I'm going to be thinking, you know, she's coming home. You wouldn't believe the feeling that you have inside when you're watching these events take place on television, and then realize that it's somebody that you grew up with.
4 people in my town on Long Island are missing, and I've been getting calls all day from people who have loved ones who have not checked in, and it is just, boy, if you ever knew what true evil is, we're seeing it now. Now, before we get to our first guest, we want to tell you that we are going to take phone calls in the second half hour of The Factor this evening. The phone number to get through to us is 1-888-TEL-FOX, 1-888-TEL-FOX. We will take some calls. We'll have some guests with us. We'll answer all of your questions or try to get as many calls in as possible from the half hour to midnight East Coast time, all right? Joining us now from Boston is Michael Taylor, who served in the elite United States Special Forces and also acted as a security consultant for the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey in the aftermath of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. Did you ever think you were going to see that same building be attacked the way it was? Did you ever think that could be possible?
Yes, actually we did, Bill, and we wrote part of our vulnerability assessment reflecting this type of attack.
When did that paper get written, and what was the reaction to it?
The paper was written actually back in 1993, and a lot of the reaction about anything other than a car bomb, because that's what was hit at the bombing there at the World Trade Center. Anything other than that seemed far-fetched in most people's minds.
Why, though? It does make sense that if you could coordinate this kind of an action, which these terrorists did, that you would go after the Sears Tower, the World Trade Center, or some really symbolic, huge building. So why were they skeptical?
Well, today it's not skeptical. One would think it's not far-fetched today. But back in 1990, some major airlines requested that we conduct vulnerability assessments on some of their spare parts facilities. One of our major concerns were car bombs, and they were looking at us like we had 3 heads, saying car bombs don't happen here. We tried to explain to them, look, it's just a matter of time before it gets here. It's a common everyday tool, literally everyday tool used in the Middle East. And of course it'll get here. It's just a matter of time.
All right.
And lo and behold, what shows up in 1993 at the World Trade Center.
Now, we've heard in the earlier version of The Factor today, and from you right now, Mr. Taylor, that there had been ample warnings, and in the Americans, not American people, but the American authorities really weren't prepared to take any action because action costs money, it disturbs a lot of people, and then down the line. You yourself spent a lot of time in the Middle East, and you were a terrorist chaser at one point, trying to track these people down. The other question everybody's asking tonight is, how can you let a person like Osama bin Laden be at large for so long when he's already wanted in this country for the bombing of the coal and the bombing of the embassies in Africa? How can that happen?
That's a good question. I've often asked that of many government officials, senior government officials, and field operatives. And everybody has the same question: how can that happen? There's been times where we've had plans in place to go and retrieve certain people that our government has wanted for terrorist acts. But State Department would intervene, want to try some diplomatic initiative. This is after all the plans are set in place, all the reconnaissance have been completed, and the execution of the actual plan is ready to go forward. The last minute, the State Department decides, oh, time out, let's have a diplomatic initiative that we'd like to execute.
Now, can you give me a specific on that? I mean, you're talking in general terms, but can you give me something you were involved in where that happened?
Well, without getting into all the specifics, because some of the people are still at large, it has happened, and it has happened numerous times. One of the incidents that everybody's aware of is the Fozzie Yunus, where our government used a couple operatives, and they weren't perfectly clean people, to help lure him out for the pretext of a drug deal or drug shipment and a bunch of wild girls. They got him out into international waters on a boat, and the FBI linked up with him, picked him up from the boat, brought him to one of the U.S. vessels out in the Mediterranean, flew a magistrate out, had him arraigned, put him in an aircraft, and flew him straight back without having him land in any other country.
And who was this man?
Fozzie Yunus.
And what was he doing?
Fozzie Yunus, I believe, was involved in one of the hijackings and some of the kidnappings of U.S. citizens in Lebanon.
All right. Now, at this juncture, though, the cry is to go in and do violence to Osama bin Laden and his supporters and those who harbor him. Can you picture that happening?
Certainly, certainly. And it should happen. It's long overdue. Our government has not had the intestinal fortitude, especially in the last 8 years, to go after these people. We have numerous indictments on people who have committed terrorist acts, killing and murdering U.S. citizens and U.S. facilities, destruction thereof, and nothing's being done about it.
Now, is it an economic thing? Is it because they don't want to see any kind of disruption like this, like just happened here in America, or a reprisal, is going to disrupt business? It's going to be bad for the economy. It's going to be bad for worldwide tensions. You're going to get people trying to get revenge and reprisals here and there. Is it an economic thing that makes our government reticent to go after these people?
No, I don't think it is, Bill. I think it's a political thing. And there's certain instances where we may not want to go get Mr. X because another government is using him for services. Situations like that more so than economic.
Well, expound on that. I mean, so what do you mean another government is using that person for services? What does that mean?
Well, for example, if Mr. X happens to be a source for the Israelis or the Jordanians or the Syrians, and the Syrians are providing him with protection, they cut a deal with us saying, hey, don't touch this guy, although we know he's a bad guy, but what is it that we can do for you, but leave this guy alone? Let's cut a deal here. That's what I mean by the politics.
So there are a lot of people at large. Sometimes they do that in organized crime. They'll cut a deal with, you know, an organized crime hitman because he'll inform on other people. Is that what you're saying is going on here?
That's exactly it, but on a much larger and more lethal scale.
Now, in your opinion, see, I know the hysteria right now, and I think that's the accurate word, is Osama bin Laden, Osama bin Laden, Osama bin Laden. I mean, everybody points to that. But I don't think you can discount the fact that there are nations that could have pulled this off. Libya, for one. Syria, for another. Iran, for a third. That have the money, that have the operations within their own countries. Libya, for example, trains terrorists from all over the world. They have camps set up to do that. So are we being foolish to discount that maybe this came from another area?
No, I don't think we're discounting that it potentially came from another area, and I don't think we're being foolish in that regard. I think that the majority of the leads are leading back to Osama bin Laden, and not just the leads that's reported in the media, because we really can't, you know, confirm many reports that are abound right now throughout the media. But the government and the intelligence apparatus and the entire intelligence community, not here just here in the U.S., but with some of our allies and our not-so-close friends, the collective efforts all involved are pointing towards him.
Okay, and I mean that's what we're getting too, and the people picked up today. In just a moment, we're going to talk to a former FBI agent who is going to tell us about what the FBI is doing today. But all of the FBI information today points to Islamic militants, some with ties to bin Laden. The last question I have for you, Mr. Taylor, is that some have so harshly criticized our intelligence agencies, saying that they're almost a joke, totally ineffective, don't have enough people on the ground, can't do the job, and that a total overhaul is needed. Do you concur with that?
No, I don't. I think we are lacking and totally devoid in human intelligence, and that's been since the Carter administration. We've got to spend a lot more money in that area. Without it, we're not going to be able to penetrate.
But you're basically saying what I just said, that they don't have enough people on the ground. They don't have the information they need to protect the citizens of the United States.
No, we never have enough information to fully protect the citizens of the United States. But this isn't a fallout or a disaster of our intelligence community.
Are you sure? Because this operation had to take months, perhaps years to plan, and we didn't have a clue.
No, this